Hello, hello. My name is Leanne. I am the face behind Small Gestures Vintage and Crafts. Welcome to my channel. If you are anything like me and you love old, rusty, vintage metal pieces, then today's video may be right up your alley. I have a few pieces that I've collected recently from estate sales and yard sales, and I thought it was time to give them a good makeover. So we're gonna paint some and put some transfers on some, and I think they may look just a little bit different than when we started. So I hope you stick around and let's do it. So for my first project, I had this metal toolbox that was in really rough shape. So I gave it 3 good coats of Rust-Oleum 2X in black, and then it just kind of sat because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't have very much left of this transfer. It's a Redesigned by Prima transfer. It's watercolor blooms, and I wanted to go ahead and use the rest of it up, so I thought this would be a great project, and I wanted to have some color underneath it. I've not done a lot with the Dixie Belle Sea Spray, so I decided to pull out a blue and green. They're both Dixie Belle. Weeping Willow is the green and Stormy Seas is the blue, and I just added some of the Sea Spray powder to each of those just so I could get a good nice texture underneath that, underneath the white paint that was going to go on top. I think I probably used maybe about a teaspoon of the Sea Spray to each of those colors. Well, I guess we'll see right here. Just about a teaspoon. And then I honestly think I can't remember, but I think it was a little too thick and I had to add some more paint and a little bit of water to it to thin it out, because I think one of them came out really, really thick. But in the end, I love how the texture looks. And I kind of had a flashback when I was getting ready to do this. So I was pregnant with our daughter in 1994, and in the 90s, it was all about sponge painting. And I can remember being 7 months pregnant, sponge painting the bottom half of her nursery in all the baby colors, the blue and pink and green and yellow, because we didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. So it was just kind of fun doing this and remembering those days. The brush I used for the Sea Spray, it was just an old chippy brush. I didn't clean it really in between the colors. I didn't care if they got mixed in, and I wasn't sure how easily the Sea Spray would wash out. So I just wanted to use an old brush, and then I let it dry thoroughly for 24 hours, and I came in with White Swan in DIY. My plan was just to have it be kind of random and not really a full coat. I wanted some of the green and blue to show through, but I wasn't sure with the transfers exactly how that would look. So I kind of shifted, and I ended up giving it 2 full coats of the White Swan. After the white paint was good and dry, I went outside and hit it with my sander. It was a sunny day, and the white toolbox, it was so bright. I couldn't really see exactly what I was doing, but I felt like the sander was taking off really more than I wanted. So I pulled out just one of my sponge sanders and decided to finish off with that. So I wouldn't be taking off all of the Sea Spray I had just put down. So I gave it a good cleaning after that, and then brought it in, and you can see some of that yummy texture, and started laying out my my transfers. I knew I was going to have to cut the transfer for the top of the toolbox that opens, but I didn't want to cut it first because there's a pretty big lip right there below the latch, and I was afraid that I might cut it too short. So I pulled off the bottom half of the transfer, stuck it down, and then just kind of worked my way up a little bit. And stuck down as much as I could, and then went in with a straight edge and an X-Acto knife to go ahead and cut it so I could open up the top. Since I hadn't used the sea spray before, I hadn't ever put a transfer over it, so I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go, but I was really happy with it. There were just some areas where I had to use a little bit more pressure to get over the texture of the sea spray, but all in all, it went on really, really pretty easily. After I got all the transfers on where I wanted, and I tried not to overthink it too much, they all got put down and then got burnished really well, which is where you just take the carrier sheet that the transfer comes on and rub it in really well. And then I gave it 2 coats of a flat top coat to seal those transfers in and to seal the paint in. And there we are. For my second project, I picked up this skinny little toolbox at another estate sale, and it just so happens that a transfer that I found at Dollar Tree last year was the perfect fit. So I made a couple measurements and cut it in half for the top and bottom, and this little sucker got some serious cleaning. It was a grimy, greasy mess. So it got cleaned with Simple Green and some Dawn and hot water and all the good cleaning stuff. And let me tell you, this transfer, this sucker sticks good. Like, I barely touched it and there was no lifting this back up at all. When it was down, it seriously was down. It was no big deal. I was off like 1/8 of an inch on the corner, so I just rolled with it. I tried not to overthink it too much, but it sticks down good, I gotta tell you. And it's really actually kind of like a sticker. There's not a transfer where you rub it on. And so I pulled out my little tweezers because I didn't want to leave fingerprints on the back of it. And there I stuck my finger on the back of it, but you couldn't tell. But it's like, it's just like a sticker. There's no transfer, there's no carrier sheet, and it's so sticky. I wasn't sure how I was going to do the top, so I ended up just folding the edge back a little bit just so I could put it on the edge of the top. It's just a skinny little bit on the top that lifts up. So I just tried to line that up as best I could and just barely fold it back so I could get it adhered and then take care of the rest. Sorry about the lovely shot of the top of my head. I think this is probably one of the quickest makeovers I've done. I wanted to add some text to it, and so I used some text from the French Labels transfer set that's by Redesign. So since these transfers were going straight onto the metal, they go down beautifully. They're just like any other transfer. It's got a carrier sheet and then it's got a backing sheet. So you just cut it out, position it where you want it to go, and then you just peel the backer off. I barely laid it down there just so I could get some measurements. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I had to make sure it was in the middle. And then you just lay it down and use the stick that comes with the transfer, regardless of whatever type of transfer you use. They'll always come with some kind of a stick that you're going to use to press down on the transfer. And then you'll be able to see when it releases, it kind of looks a little more opaque. And then you can just lift it right up and burnish it. That's what it's called when you rub it over really good. So it's adhered nicely to the metal. After I had all my transfers down, I went over it with one of my sanding sponges. I've got this beat up grungy metal box and these new transfers, so I just really wanted to age them a little bit so they wouldn't quite stand out so much. And then you can see on the inside, it's just beautiful shape. So I decided to give it a couple of good coats of Little Black Dress from DIY, and then went over all of it inside and outside with some weather defense spray to seal in those transfers and then seal in that paint on the inside. So for my third project, I had this plain rusty bucket. But again, if I see something rusty, crusty, I have to get it. So I decided to use some of that leftover blue and green paint from the first project that has the sea spray texture. It had been sitting a while, so it really had kind of thickened up. And I wasn't mad about it at all because it gave me a lot more texture because of what this bucket looked like. I really wanted to get more texture than what I got with the metal toolbox. So again, I just randomly dabbed it on here and there. There was absolutely no rhyme or reason. I used the same brush and just kind of went for it. So after that was good and dry, I'm sorry, I forgot to record, but I did 2 coats of White Swan in which is by DIY, and then took it out and gave it a good sanding and brought it back in for some transfers. This is the Cotton and Eucalyptus transfer by Dixie Belle, and I really did struggle with this transfer, but I know it's because I totally jumped the gun. I did the sea spray paint, I put the white paint, I sanded it all within a matter of a few hours. I was so excited to get going on this. I did not top coat it after I painted it before I put the transfer. I did not let it dry overnight. I really just jumped in too soon. And it was a challenge. It was lifting paint when I was pulling the transfer up. There was also a lot more texture than on the metal toolbox. But I was so excited I couldn't help myself. But it definitely was more of a struggle. So I just took my time and went piece by piece and learned my lesson. After I put on one of the cotton transfers, I had forgotten how transparent they were, so I really had to be more strategic in where I was putting them because I didn't want to put them over the eucalyptus leaf because I didn't want a lot of that blue and green showing through. So I kind of had to cut them apart a little more than I had planned, so they would go more over the white paint instead of the transfer that was already down there. I really made sure to burnish this one really well because of all the challenges that I had with it. But in the end, it was so worth it because I absolutely love how it turned out. Before I started this, I had sprayed the inside with a couple of coats of the weather defense spray. And then after the transfers were completely down and all burnished, then I gave it 2 coats of a flat top coat. For my 4th and final project, when I spotted this green tackle box, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it, and that was to use the Painterly Florals transfer from IOD. I had hoped that that green would be perfect with the sunflower and roses, and I think it was. What do you think? I had the most fun working on this project, but it also, I think, gave me the most pressure because I have a hard time sometimes thinking out of the box and cutting the transfers and placing them and kind of overthinking that. It did get to me a little bit, but I had it in my head, like what I wanted it to look like, and I didn't want to be disappointed. So I really put a lot of pressure. See, I'm like, which way should I put the rose? I don't want to cover up the center of the other rose. Should it go this way? Should it go that way? Welcome to my world. My favorite part, the sunflower. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use. Finally decided on this one because there was a little bigger spot you can see on the bottom left that didn't have the green paint, and I wanted to kind of cover that up a little bit, so I went with this bigger sunflower, cut it in half so I could put it on the top and the bottom. And again, because this metal was bare, the transfers just went down like a dream. They just stuck absolutely beautifully. You can start to see here how it looks a little different color. It's a little more opaque. Then you know that the transfer has adhered to the surface and come off of that carrier sheet. So there I'm burnishing it really well to make sure that, again, that it's adhered good to the metal. Sometimes when I'm applying a transfer, I'll use my fingernail instead of the transfer tool just to get it down there. I feel like I have a little bit more control, and I lessen the chance of tearing a transfer that's right next to it, because that may or may not have happened to me before. And then I'm making like a little cut in it to kind of go around the corner a little more easily, since I have to wrap it around the side and around the top. It's like cutting a little dart in sewing, I guess. This little tackle box was definitely well used and well loved. There were lots of little dings and dents all over it, so I really had to make sure, and I guess that's another reason I wanted to use my fingers, so I could make sure I really got in all of those little dents and ridges that there were. Since this box was just the raw metal and it had some rust spots on it, after the transfers were done, I gave it 2 really good coats inside and out of weather defense spray, so it would be good and protected. If you are still here with me, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and drop a comment below. Let me know which one was your favorite. For me, it was definitely this tackle box. This one is going to be a hard one to let go. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me again soon.